Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? Welcome to the Annie T Chats podcast. And today I have a very special lady on indeed, and her name is Leanne Lackie. She is a psychic medium, and I'm delighted to have her on the show and to introduce you all to this lovely lass from Dundee. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Annie. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, really good. It's quite sunny here in Dundee, so all good this morning.
Same here. The sun is shining. The energy's with us. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, Leanne. So when anybody comes in, I'd like to know their origin, the beginning, the spiritual awakening of how it all started for you. Was it something that you grew up with? Was it something that just happened? Can you talk us through the process, please?
It was a bit of both, to be honest. When I started developing, it wasn't the first time that I could have stepped into it. So I always had a knowledge. I had quite when I was 17, I lost my dad. So I lost my dad quite young. And when he passed, I had quite a few experiences just at that young age, when I was 17. I remember because my dad passed suddenly, really suddenly to the spirit, heart attack, and me and my brother were obviously completely devastated, and my mum as well. And I went to see my dad, in the chapel arrest, and I went in and must have been in there for a good half an hour, 40 minutes speaking, like confessing all my sins that I'd ever done.
Yeah, I'm
It
sorry.
was like a confession. And
Yeah.
then so I sat and I spoke to him, and I really needed that moment of being with him to realise that he had definitely passed, to see him with my own eyes. So as I was standing there and I was saying the words that I had to say to him, I almost felt like the words were bouncing off his body, and like it was the energy was behind me. It was like he was standing behind me. And I remember thinking, it wasn't unusual. It didn't feel unusual to me, but obviously it was a bit weird. So then, a while later, me and my partner at the time, we went out, and like we were in the pub or whatever, and I came up the road and was getting quite upset. And I'd managed to kind of keep everything together, like really quite in shock at losing my dad so young. And I got up to my house and I just bawled my eyes out, and I could feel him with me. And I was like, he must be here. So our dog Tiffy, who was like my dad's best pal, Tiffy was barking and like obviously aware that my dad was there as well. And then my brother come in, and my brother couldn't be any more muggle if you tried, very not into this at all. And he was getting more upset because he's like, right, come on, you need to kind of get a grip.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was kind of the not the first experience, but the first experience like with someone that I knew, like that had passed the spirit world. And then I kind of put it in a wee box and tucked it away because I didn't want people to think that it was weird. I had my own kind of belief system. I was in quite a bit of shock for the first year of my dad. I can't really remember a lot about that year. Um, and when it came to a point when I went to see a medium about 6 months in to the grief. And I remember I was in the Occidental pub in Dundee and sitting there with this beautiful lady that was just, just looked like stereotypical spiritualist woman, really just, she was amazing. And sitting with her, and then the things that she told me, something just let go inside of me. I just managed then on to start to rebuild my life. And that sounds quite dramatic, but it was a lot of shock for me at that time. And she gave me a part of my life back, this lady. And I thought from then on I was always interested in it. So even before we had like John Edwards on the TV, and then we obviously had Colin Fry and Tony Stockwell and TJ Higgs on our telly, even before that, I was reading books at like 17, 18, the Celestine Prophecy, like kind of really
Yeah.
in depth, kind of burying myself in these books. And then as I progressed, I got into my 20s, and then part of the grief shifted, and then I went and just enjoyed my 20s, just really enjoyed myself,
Yeah.
went traveling, went to Australia, just did a lot of life stuff, really had a good time. But when I remember I was living in London at one point, and I was standing outside the I think it was like the College of Psychic Studies, and I
Okay.
was standing outside because I lived not far from there, and I thought, oh, I wish I could just go in. And I never ever had the courage to walk in there because I thought, oh no, I was so self-conscious, and nobody knew at that point that I had these interests. And I was very much, I was so, I didn't have the confidence to be that person yet. That person that would come out and be a medium or say that I'm interested in this stuff. So after I left London, I always kick myself now that I never went in. I've still never been there.
Yeah. You're right.
But when I came back from London, and then I had like lots of travelling and stuff, and then into my 30s, I had my daughter, and around about, I think pregnancy really opens you up. Pregnancy is wild for people that have got even the slightest ability. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a few things went on, and then it got buried, obviously. First mum, really kind of just getting on with things. And then when I had my son, when I was pregnant with my son Cole, um, I knew that there was something with his face. I'd kind of had a vision of someone else that I know that's son has like a palsy on his face when I was going into my scan, and I thought, um, oh, he's going to have that, and I didn't, I knew that it was a boy as well. I never got like tested or any, I never got the test to see if it was a girl or a boy, but I kind of knew in my own head that it was going to be a boy, and it was going to be slightly premature, because my daughter was really premature. But he was, when he arrived, he had like just a bit of a droopy eyelid.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's all it is. It's fine. He's beautiful. He's
Yeah.
everything that I'd hoped that he would be. But as Cole grew, I knew that he was going to be a special child. So he has autism and a learning disability and a whole host of wee things and everything that makes him perfect. But he's the most beautiful, loving little boy you could ever meet. He's amazing. So up until the last year, he's been non-verbal. He's starting to say some words and sentences now. But up until then, so I think that gave us, we really had to be quite telepathic in the way that we communicated. We had to be it was all non-verbal cues, and, it really kind of helped us tune into each other. But when I was pregnant with Cole, I also found out that my mum had dementia. It's like everything all at once.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the stress of that, I started meditating. So I went to a meditation group, and then Cole was born. And I remember saying to the lady that took the meditation group, you need to tell them to go. I can't cope with spirit people just now. I'm ready to pop. I've not got, I already feel like I'm crazy. Like, please tell them to go. And she says, well, you're the medium. You tell them to go. And I was like, okay. So they gave me maybe, Cole was born and maybe about 2 months after he was born. Then it was like, oh, I knew when my phone was going to ring. I knew when the post was coming through the door. It was really, you would think that would be magical, but it wasn't. I really thought I was crazy, you know. I wasn't the spiritual awakening I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then after that, I thought I'll join a group. And so that led into me starting to look for a teacher. And that was the very beginning.
Wow. So, and I don't think people realize, but when somebody phones, I was just thinking about you, and they're actually tapping into something so much bigger. Yeah. And all these life experiences, from 17 years of age, your dad passing, your mother with the dementia, the pregnancies. And it's really interesting that you say this, the pregnancies really open us up so
Hmm.
more because everything is just heightened, isn't it? And of course, you're detoxing from, if you're drinking, if you're doing anything, and you're definitely just coming into full alignment in your creativity, I suppose. Yeah, I never really thought about that. It's really
Yeah.
cool. It's really cool. There's all different layers to us for sure. So then you did Reiki because you're a Reiki master. So when did Reiki come into this for you?
I'm actually just a practitioner. I've not done my
Oh, I
master's
thought
yet.
you were a Reiki master.
So I actually only did that recently. I did that maybe a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I'd always done my own version of spiritual healing. So I did tap into Reiki afterwards. So I started doing, I was doing spiritual healing on people who were ill, and just my own brand, really, just kind of inviting people in to come and work with me, not traditional Reiki as I
Okay.
was taught, with the symbols and everything. I just did my own brand, and then I thought I'm going to go and learn Reiki, which I did, but I'm in between the two. I kind of revert back to my own style of doing it. And God love my teacher, Morag Simpson. She taught me how to do Reiki, and and I'm always like the worst student in the class because everybody else knows the symbols, and I'm like, where's my book? You know.
Yeah.
I'm great at remembering things that have just given to me from spirit. That's my bag, not things that I've got to learn. So I did try to learn to the best of my ability. I know the basics, but I think anything past like 3 or 4 symbols, my brain is not going to retain that information.
Yeah, I think that the symbols is just for the focused attention, for you to focus on the meaning of
Hmm.
the symbol. And of course, there's a
Hmm.
numerology, not a numerology, there's a maths to it of how you're breaking up the energy around you. It's really interesting, isn't it? The symbols,
Yeah.
just your focused attention on how you're doing. And I love the fact that you say it's your bag, you do your thing. And there is traditional Reiki, and there is this trying to make it your own. And I think when you're trying to be authentic in you just being your own healer,
Hmm.
you're kind of breaking away from, and that's good. I think that's good that it's not all too uniform. How are you meant to be yourself? How are you meant to be authentic? So I'm all for
Hmm.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've done your Reiki 1, you've done Reiki 2, like the integration and understanding of all life lessons, choices, and
Hmm.
consequences. So it's an interesting journey for you, but it just comes naturally for you if you've had this from a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, when I started doing healing, I remember when I first started developing,
Yeah.
we did wee parts of healing within the circle that I was in, and we practiced that, but it wasn't as much as like my healing comes through my mediumship. I mean,
Yeah.
I've not got like a big long list of things that I do. I'm pretty much
You've
medium.
got, yeah.
Medium and healer went, but it's not something like with my Reiki, it's not something that I do a lot or charge for, because it's generally only if I feel like if someone asks me to come and do a bit of healing on someone, then that's me gifting, I suppose. Not that that it should be for everyone, because you
Mm.
should be charging, but it's not my kind of brand, if you know what I mean. I'm more uh most of my healing comes through my mediumship work. But a friend of mine, it's actually the anniversary of the lady's passing, mother-in-law, I was invited up the day before she passed, and that was an incredible experience to be there and to pick up on the people that were in the room, and to be able to say to her son and daughter, I could see your Auntie Mag's here, and I could see this. And so
Yeah.
that was lovely. And I'd like to do more of that in the future. I think if I was to do anything in the healing, it would be hospice type work that I would like to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like that as well. And tell us,
Hmm.
Leanne, can you see? Are you clairvoyant? Do you see the energy? You feel the energy? How do you perceive the energy in the room or in an environment when you walk in?
So when I'm doing mediumship, I perceive it in any way that they're willing to give me it.
Yeah,
I was predominantly clairvoyant at the beginning, so now I'm more clear knowing. It just drops in. It's in there and out. At the beginning, when there was very kind of physical and like really stronger signs. Now it's so subtle, you've just got to trust, haven't you? You've got to trust that that information's correct because it just gets dropped in. But I think when you're working like with multifaceted different clairs, it just all comes in different ways anyway. So I try not to get too hung up on it. I
yeah.
would say that I'm probably um, I'm clairvoyant, probably the strongest
Mhm.
after like your clairsentience, but it's all a mishmash, isn't it? It
Yeah,
really is. I mean, I think you've got to be able to work with all the clairs eventually. I'm not saying that like I'm not great with the smell one,
yeah.
but
And
it
I
has
hate,
happened.
yeah.
It has. I have had it, but it's not my strongest one. But at the same time, I just trust what they give me. Just give me it any way that you like.
Yeah, and I think people have a fear, me included, when doing a reading or stepping into an energy that you want to perceive and you want to try and express in that moment. And, I see, I feel, I hear, I smell, I taste,
Hmm.
whatever. And you're kind of, excuse me, feel like you're going through this checklist at the
Hmm.
start. And I know that it's so hard to try and contain that information because you're trying to work off a list and you just have to let go of that list.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust what's coming in that moment. That was a huge learning curve for me too.
Hmm.
Yeah, very good, very
I
good.
mean, I feel that I was really lucky with my teachers. None of my teachers gave us a checklist, so I've
Okay.
never worked from a checklist.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes in centres or churches or some mediumship teachers, they
yeah,
prefer you to have your checklist.
yeah,
And for me, it was never put upon me like that. My first teacher, who is based in Carnoustie, um, she was very much about empowering our skills and our development
yeah.
and us to be the mediums that we decide that we're going to be rather than kind of saying you must do this. So that was a great starting block for me. It meant that as I developed, I kind of kept that kind of grounding as I went through my mediumship, that I'll just take what they give me,
That's
you
what I
know.
got. That's what I got from Marta Finley. Um,
Hmm.
I first kind of opening up to all this, and the list was there, and I was like, oh my God, and it just threw me completely. And that's what I
Hmm.
was going off at the start. And of course, I've met different teachers, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's great to have all these different perceptions of how you do. But I
Hmm.
know now that you get rid of the list and you just
Hmm.
do it as you feel. So, psychic awareness, mediumship, what's the difference for you?
So I'm very, like, the line is very clear for me. The psychic is about you and your life and what's going on with you,
Yeah.
very much kind of on a, a lesser energy than spirit, I would imagine. It doesn't, you're not exhausted after doing psychic readings, are you? So I just feel like when I do psychic readings, I'll use tarot cards or I'll just blend in and get information in that way, whatever way the sitter's looking for. At the very beginning, I was known as a card reader. So that's how I started out in my lovely spooky hut that you
Yeah.
can see behind me. So when I first started out, I started charging £15 for card readings, and from day one, they never walked away just with cards. They always got a bit of spirit as well.
Yeah.
So very much like it's like two sections. I try to kind of keep them like very clear lines of when I'm working with spirit and when I'm working with psychic energy. Because when I go to the spirit world, it's magical, isn't it? It's just everything comes alive.
It's
Um,
it's like Funderland. Well, like it's like I heard somebody saying this Funderland to Disneyland. It's just like Las
Yeah.
Vegas. It's just completely different. It's just like you think you've seen it all, and just like, oh my God, it's literally this energy that is. It's so profound upon you as a person as well, and you're human, that you're just like, oh my God, this actually is
Hmm.
real. But you can't stay there. You gotta be in your humanness. So there is a big difference. Yeah, the cards is just the cards. It doesn't take too much energy from you. You're just reading the cards. And then when you're going to mediumship, yeah, there's that fine line. So do you think you blend the two together, or you separate them completely? It's like,
I separate them. So I'll do like, depending on what the client's looking for. If they're looking for like just a psychic reading, then great. Looking for just a spirit reading, then great.
yeah,
But most people will come and say half and half. And when
yeah,
I now ask them, is it more one than the other? Because what happens is you go through half a psychic reading, like just say you've got your 40 minutes, you do 20 minutes of psychic, and then you end up that they really wanted the spirit, and then the next thing you're going over time. So yeah, I just kind of say, is it just like a little bit of psychic that you're looking for? But the thing is, I mean, spirit will bring through their own kind of message anyway. When you go to spirit, they'll bring through messages of, I know what you've been doing since the past, and like
yeah.
different things. But at the same time, I like to differentiate them, because it's one of my pet hates. Should I be saying this? It's one of my pet hates when mediums are working psychically when they say they're working with spirit. Um, yeah, so that kind of, I like to be very thorough
Yeah.
about where I'm working.
Yeah, this is
So,
all new to me, by the way, all new. So I'm just
mhm.
kind of stepping into this going, oh my God, this is amazing. And, you've still got to sit and you're going to know the difference. So I do believe I'm working psychically, but I can tap into it. I do believe I can tap into it. I do believe there's so much more. But I think and like this podcast, it's just
Mhm.
introducing me and like-minded people to let them know that, it does exist. These messages are real. And you may just think it's just hearsay and it's just but there's something very magical happening when you're
Mhm.
communing with a psychic medium. So tell us about spirit guides, and, do you work with spirit guides? Do you have
I,
any?
I don't do I
Go.
don't do spirit guide readings. I just basically, I know that they're there.
Yeah,
I've definitely met a few of them.
yeah,
One of them more recently, but for a long time, the one that I met recently was just a bright light and was called Bright Light,
it's as
so
basic as that, isn't it?
entitled. But yeah, it wasn't until I sat for healing with someone that was poorly, that Bright Light came forward, who obviously was my healing guide, and
Yeah,
made herself kind of like, hello, this is me. But I have had them change over, because I've been developing for 10 years. I've been working for about 8, like just
okay.
starting off really slow at the beginning.
Mm,
So the guide that I had at the first couple of years is not the guide that I predominantly have now.
yeah.
So I do have them popping in and out, but never in readings. Nobody's ever aware of them. They're all mine, my
Yeah,
precious.
that's what I was going to say. They're yours, and the different energies will step forward for where you are, whatever
Yeah.
you're like.
Yeah, and I think, that, like, sometimes when I'm doing the cards, I'll maybe say to my guides, like, as I'm kind of setting my intention, let's give them the best reading that they could possibly have through
Yeah,
your guidance.
yeah,
But that's about, I don't target that as like spirit guide reading, because that's another thing that gets my goat as
yeah.
well. When there's all these different labels attached to the same type of reading,
Yeah,
soul work, or, all these
yeah.
different, and you're like, it's a psychic reading,
Psychic or
so,
mediumship. Yeah. No, I just wanted to ask, had you got a spirit guide that you commune with, that's been with you since the beginning? If you've any
mhm.
particular attachment, I suppose, to a certain energy, or that you've. Bright light is a great name for an energy. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have certain ones, like I say, that come forward. I think that the one that I initially had has been with me all the way through.
Yeah.
She was just very nurturing, and I think made things really easy for me to step into this work. Because I was very slow and beautiful, and she wasn't like a shamanic princess sitting on the top of a hill. She
Yeah.
was a childminder. She gave me where she lived, and I looked it up, and it was in India, like this little village. And I thought that was amazing. That was a proper moment for me when I thought, Jesus, this is actually
Jesus
real.
Christ. Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think she's really helped kind of and very soft, very such a kind of soft energy to work with, and um, like I would imagine that she would have been with me when I went through so much as I was growing up, like
Yeah.
what all the kind of sadness.
Yeah.
Um, but certainly, I've got my other guide that's coming from a mediumship, and his energy is just bounce off the balls. His is completely different.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah. Most of them are, and you're just like, oh my
Hmm.
God, I'm trying to be
Hmm.
serious now. I'm trying to
Yeah.
do this, and it's just like, no, it's kind of bringing you up, 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 and you're like, ooh.
And they usually communicate when I'm cooking. It's normally when I'm cooking when I start to kind of get these downloads, or
Yeah.
getting information, and I'm making my bolognese, and then the next thing I'm like getting, and I'm like, oh God, notepad, try.
Yeah. They come in at the most unexpected time. Mine is when I'm writing or shower, or dinner, stuff
Oh,
like that.
shower. I've
Shower
had
is
spirit
big.
appear in the shower.
Yeah, me too. And you're just
Hmm.
like, okay, just let me have my share. Just let me, yeah, yeah. Because you're not focused, you're not seeking. It's just there,
Hmm.
isn't
Hmm.
it? So what have you learned most about yourself and your journey, Miss Lackey?
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
that has been the journey. Like being able to be myself. When I was younger, I've been thinking about this a lot today. Like that girl that stood outside the College of Psychic Studies, that was too scared to let anybody know who she was. That was too scared to like even admit it to her best pals, that this was something that I was into. To then be like out there doing the work and not caring, and I think it does give you a point where um if you're being very self-conscious, or if you've not got the confidence in something, or it gives you like a feeling that actually I am who I am and I don't care. There's a part
Yeah.
of you that's like you just kind of release your own self-judgment over um who you are, because I remember like I was so caught up on what other people thought of me for years. I
Yeah.
can't remember not up until I started my journey. I can't remember not being worried about what other people thought and what I was doing, or and then when I stepped into this, within the year, that self-development, that's what you get the most out of your mediumship, is your own self-development. And to then be like, well, I actually am not caring. If you don't like what I do, that's okay. And the people that I surround myself with as well. I've got friends in my community that are healers, that are into things that I'm never going to be into. Like
Yeah.
all this beautiful community up in Dundee, who we're all doing all different things, but we'll all support each other. I'm not saying it's all like that. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
everybody's like that, but for our little community, we will always support each other. And I think there's a huge lesson in acceptance in there. We don't all have to sing from the same hymn book. We just need to be able to be together and find the commonalities, and like so that we could like say, oh, this part of your work, we could do something with that. Like
Yeah.
let's share this, or let's like exchange gift vouchers and see what's what. And it is, I mean, we've got like I'm very lucky with the people that are surrounding me. They're not all mediums, but I'm really lucky to have a good community behind me,
Yeah.
um, and that's made all the difference.
And yeah, it's really important. And my best friends aren't mediums, but they
Mhm.
support me in what I do, and I come in and I'm like, oh wait, I tell you this, and and they're just like, they just listen, they hold space, but not everybody is into it. But that's
Mhm.
completely fine, and you find your tribe. So what have you learned most about sitters?
Sitters, well, do you
Well,
know what? It's right. It's always a mixed bag, isn't it? You're always going to, when you're working with the public, you're going to find people that, do you know what? On the whole, people are good. On the whole, people are just um, people needing healing that come to see me, people that have got a need. And to me, the reason that I'm a medium is because I want to be that person for that 17-year-old who was completely shut down. I want to be that person to then reconnect them with the person that they're missing the most. And that is like fundamentally why I do this work.
yeah,
That's why you've got to really consider. I mean, people that come into here like to learn how to be a medium do 4 lessons and then say, right, that's me a medium. I'm going to charge $60
yeah.
for a reading and think that they're going to be minted. I mean, I just think, God, Spirit, do you just make me skint so I've always got to do the but at the same time, it's just yeah, I just feel like there's so many light workers needing to be out there. If anything, we need more mediums. So there's no competition with me. The people that want to come and see me will find me.
Yeah,
Um, and I know that if anything, it's me that really struggles to fit people in. Because I've also got a day job. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in my muggle job, and then I work some nights and then a Monday and Friday doing my spirit work, and I keep my weekends just solidly for my family.
brilliant.
So that works for me. That way it's not putting the emphasis on I must do readings to pay my bills. My bills are paid from my day job, and
Yeah,
then anything else comes forward because it's a natural progression. I don't like go full on advertising campaigns or anything like that.
yeah.
Generally, most of my work comes from word of mouth.
And I think that's the best, isn't it? That you once you're
Hmm.
word of mouth, happy days. So you mentioned, you've your two children. How do you integrate this now with the work that you're doing? I know the mediumship is kind of like the soul work and connecting in with other people's and, giving those lovely messages. How are you integrating motherhood? Because I know teenager,
Fun.
teenager, yeah, girl teenager.
Yep.
Which adds to it. You have teenagers myself. I've got three of them. But you're on the start of this now, 13-year-old,
Hmm.
and of course Cole with his disabilities. How are you finding that's a development in itself for you?
Hmm. I'm I just fly by the seat of my pants, really. It's just wingingit.com. If
Yeah,
I was to be like, I can't work full time because Cole needs me for like a very like especially at the start. There's a lot of appointments and things like that to do with Cole and his autism and like being there. So I could only really work part time in a set hour job. So picking up the extra hours in my mediumship. Yeah, it's been great. Don't get us wrong, that was never the intention. It was just to develop. But so now I've got two part-time jobs and I just juggle it as I see fit. Now, the thing is, if anything happens with my kids, the first thing that I've got to do is cancel appointments.
yeah,
Your kids are always going to be top priority.
mm,
Um, and I'm always mama bear as well. Like if there's anything that's going wrong with my kids, they're always going to come to me, and it's going to be me that sorts it out, me and their dad. So it's just about the balance, isn't it? And I'm not saying that I always get it right because I don't always get it right.
and
Like
anyone who says that they
some
do
weeks.
is lying.
Some weeks I'm just like, how did I get through that week? And
Yeah,
then other times, like I can't always do. Like I've just had a period of illness with flu. I was so ill, and I had to step back from my readings. And then you've got that element of guilt, like when you've got to kind of say, right, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cancel your readings. I need to kind of go to ground and rebuild myself and rebuild my immune system and get myself back on an even keel. So that's where I'm just now. But I'm just getting ready to open my book again. But I've got 2 demonstrations this week, so I'll need to wait to the following week. It's just balance, really.
And I think I've heard a lot of people that they're about to go into demonstration mode and they will go into that lull, whether it will present as a physical illness, but you're meant to
Hmm.
be resting, you're meant to be disconnecting from everyone and just then it'll just go.
Hmm.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm just starting out in demonstrations, but over the next few weeks, I've got like 5 demonstrations, public demonstrations. And don't get me wrong, I'm like regretting life choices at this point.
Yeah, I think we
But,
all do, yeah.
but it was just so easy to step in. I don't know, Spirit must have like put it in my way, you know. So I've got a few things coming up, and then I've got a bit of a lull just before Christmas, which I'm going to keep, you know, because I'm definitely going to need that.
The love.
But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out there and um, standing up for Spirit and being able to give those messages.
Yeah, and to stand up, like, fair play to you. You're a lot braver than me. You know, ultimately, you're just facing yourself, isn't it? And then you're just like, right, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm doing. And I think it's amazing to watch. It's lovely to watch and to be part of just being in the message of somebody receiving it. And if you're a
Mhm.
sitter and you're just there in an audience for a demonstration and you want someone else to get a message, that's probably when you're going to get a message. Because if you're sitting there,
Mhm.
going, I want, give it to me, da, 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 it's not going to work that way. Sure, it doesn't. Sure, it doesn't. So, have you ever woke up and said, right, I'm not doing this? This is like ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think, you know, we all go through phases of chucking it, don't we?
Yeah.
Just recently I had a chucking it moment. I think what makes me feel that I'm not going to like, right, that's me done, is when I've got to disappoint people by cancelling because I'm juggling so much, you know, and because predominantly my work so far has been one-to-ones. So people are waiting on their one-to-ones and like there's waiting lists and all the rest. And when you're disappointing people, I think I'll just go and work in Tesco's and do some hours in there. Or, you know, like do something where it's not as going to be as emotionally taxing, you know, because it's like you sitting in a person's grief for 40 minutes to an hour. I love it. I love doing it. Don't get me wrong, it's my absolute
Great. Yeah.
favourite thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can make you a bit weary after a while, you know, like if you don't take your breaks. So I applaud these mediums that are able to do um constant mediumship one-to-ones right through the year, you know, like
Yeah.
back-to-back appointments, because I just feel like I go through like I know that Hannah's mentioned the seasons, so it's like I get a good few months of like putting in the readings and getting through people, and then either my health takes a turn or life takes a turn, you know. So I've got to kind of come back a bit and then start again and then just keep the ball rolling. But I think that's just the way that it's got to be, you know,
Hey,
because I wouldn't be giving up my day job because it pays my pension. And let's
yeah.
face it, I'm 45. Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm 46. I'm going back to bed. So yeah, you've got to think about these kind of practical things as well. So, yeah, I just think that managing, like trying to manage my time better, that's definitely up there. I wish somebody would just come in and manage me and do my stuff for me
We
and just
all
say,
want
this
that.
is where you have to be.
Yeah,
You've
or a
got to do
personal
this.
trainer. Come on, we have to go for a run now. We have to do this. This is what you have to eat today. So it's like perfect in an ideal.
Oh, I know. That lottery ring's coming on.
That's what I keep saying. Let's do the lottery. It'll come. It will come. Any rituals that you do before and after when you're disconnecting, when you're when you're connecting? Is there anything that you do that you know, or did you used to do maybe at the start, or did you just go straight into it?
I mean, at the start, I think I used to really kind of sit with intention and like I always like to put my candles on, like to make it nice for them, you know.
Yeah.
But I think at the beginning, I did not, I never sat in the power, but I kind of, I would do some sort of kind of meditation, and if anything, that made it worse because you can't go from down there to up
Yeah,
there. That's
yeah, yeah.
where
I'm
you're working. So I
learning.
learnt that the hard way. But now I put on, if I'm needing an extra oomph for getting going, I'll put on like music.
Yeah, high
So
five.
I'll put on my 90s old school rave music and have
Yeah,
a good jump about. Or I'll put on, just now the Greatest Showman soundtrack really
sound.
gets me pumped up, So I'll put that on, and I just use music more than anything, and then I'll just invite the spirit world in to work. But then there's also times when it's happening really off the cuff, or you've got no time to be preparing anything. You've just got to go into it. I come running in here, I've still got beans on my face, and I'm like trying to wipe that off, sit down, and then that's me. And then the
Yeah,
reading's perfect. It's just that I don't think there's a right or wrong way to prepare. There's no way to prepare, really. You've
yeah,
just got to kind of set the intention to move your mind to the spirit world, and they're always there. It's not like you've got to pull them from anywhere. They're not like the spirit world isn't a separate world where it's
yeah,
all things at all time, isn't it?
yeah.
So it's really hard to kind of, when people ask me this question, friends and people that I've lost, I'm like, you're better not to ask because it's so confusing. How could they be with me, but then also with my brother in Australia? And I'm like, they just can't, all the same. It's because it's not a physical body that you're working with anymore.
Yeah,
So yeah, do you know what? And the thing is, I think for when you've been working for quite a few years, you need to remember, even though you've got the challenges of the time management, when you're working with spirit, it's fun, it's engaging, it's empowering people, it's giving them that piece of their life back to know that they will eventually be with them, and just so that they know that their people are fine where they are and who they're with, and what are they doing, spirit side, so it's
yeah,
just about making that person know that their person in spirit is happy,
yeah.
you know.
So
And for me, I don't know if this is a Dundee crowd, but for me, I do believe there's a social club or a pub or something where,
yeah,
because every time I bring somebody through, he's telling us he's sitting at a bar, and like these guys that are sitting with them, and and they're like, yeah, I know exactly which bar that is. So
and it's
so
very
yeah.
hard for us to get our heads around that. And I suppose that's where the development comes in, that you've got to, do the courses, you got to dive in deep, and you
Hmm.
got to you got to learn about that as well. It's like
Yeah.
the same but different. It's just an energy, just showing you impressions of what they like to do or taste,
Yeah.
whatever. So what advice would you give to somebody that's going for a mediumship reading? Is there advice, because the way they're in the heaviness and the grief,
Hmm.
and you're trying
Be
to come in at a different, what?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would I would say to research your medium. So research who you want to go to. When I was Before I started doing readings myself, I'd went to a few mediums. Since I've developed, I've not been a lot of mediums actually. I've maybe had one or two readings since I started developing. But before then, when it was my dad, I made sure that the reading that I got actually was enough to carry me for a while, until there was something else come up in my life where I maybe needed a bit of guidance. So even if you do need to spend a wee bit extra on the right medium, then I would much rather do that than 2 weeks later think, God, I got nothing from that reading, and then you see the people that are doing the circuits, they'll bounce from medium to medium,
yeah,
and to me that's then they're comparing the information,
yeah.
and that makes it really difficult for the medium that's reading for you, because if you've taken what the previous like medium has said as gospel, then you come to see me and I say actually it's something different, then that's going to really confuse them. And that's why I say unless it's a real emergency, 6 months at least between readings if you're coming to see me. There's
Yeah.
because A, the spirit world have got to be able to watch you to see what you're getting up to so that they could bring that forward as evidence. And B, it's just going to get really confusing. It's like get the right quality of medium so that you don't have to keep going back. Go and get the information that you need so
Mm.
that's going to be that healing point for you so that you feel, right, okay, I'm okay for the next wee while. And that way it's just so important to choose rather than what tends to happen is when a new medium opens their book. Now, I was that medium at one point. People will come in, but they've previously just had a reading 2 weeks before. The need's not there for them, so it's really hard to work with.
It's just the curiosity, you know.
Yeah.
Kill the cat. So, Leanne, we had a moment of synchronicity recently on the phone. I was talking about David Hale. Well, we were chatting about David Hale. By the way, we all love medium David Hale here at the centre. And you were super excited about him coming onto the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm secretly stalking him. I'm like, yeah, me too. Love David. So anyway, the synchronicity was I never heard of Bill Hughes. I never heard of TJ Higgs. I've never heard of these people. So I'm like a kid in a candy store in Spirit Social with all these mediums. I'm like, oh my God, like what the hell, where have I been? I've been living under this rock. So tell me, you are in development work with TJ Higgs at the moment?
Yeah.
So, and you've worked with a few different mediums, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's always good to see, not just to put everything in one basket, to go and see other mediums as well. Predominantly, I've had three teachers most.
Yeah.
So I started off with my local teacher, but then I really researched her. I really made sure that I was going to the best. And that's exactly who she is. She was a fantastic teacher. And then COVID hit and everything shut down. And then it just so happened it was a weird thing because I went on eBay to buy some spiritual books. And I got now I love Colin Fry. I've got all his episodes recorded on my Virgin box. I could never ever get rid of that Virgin box because it's got every episode of his on there. And I got a book bundle, and TJ's book was in the bundle. And I also had like Colin Fry's autograph, and I was like, oh my God, like trying to get the energy off of this autograph. So anyway, I picked up TJ's book and I read it cover to cover within a day. And I went online, and then it just so happened she was starting an online circle. And so I was so one step. And then after I think a week or two in her circle, then she did a mentorship, and then I was on her first ever online mentorship as well. So I just kind of really fell into place, and she's been such a fabulous teacher, and she's so good. I mean, I think when you're picking a teacher, go and watch them work, because both my teachers are absolutely amazing, to watch, to work, to be inspired to that level, that's what you should be aiming for, someone that's so good. So and then so I've sat in circle for the last 5 years, and I've moved through different kind of avenues. Last year TJ has TJ and Friends. She invited me to go up as one of her students to demonstrate, which was great, which then brought me to youth because I went on Hannah McIntyre's Elevate course, so that, and that's where we met, because I thought I need some platform experience, something else on top of it. So I did that course, which was amazing as well. So it all kind of came around, and then I did my platform demonstration, and then from there it's just kind of, okay, now is the time. If I'm going to do it, Spirit always say to me, if you're going to be a medium, be a medium. They're so direct, like no
Yeah,
nonsense.
very literal, isn't it? And you're just like, yeah, but I just want to understand that that's the human in it. Just that's what it is.
Hmm.
It is what it is, kind of.
Hmm.
And I think through Elevate that you realize then, yeah, you're ready.
Yeah,
Because you gave great demonstrations on Elevate, especially to me. That's where we connected. That you brought it
yeah.
together, and I had a little moment which I was like, oh my God, you're very special. Absolutely.
Oh,
Strokes for different folks with teachers. So you see the difference in them, and you're just taking those. Sorry, let me just. You see the difference and the different perspectives, and it helps you as a medium. Yeah,
hmm.
really good. And do you find with different teachers, it gives you more of an open perspective to mediumship?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that everybody works differently. And
yeah,
I think that if you think that if teachers, they've all got their little stalls, I feel like you're going to the marketplace and they've all got little stalls
yeah,
and you go and you try this bit and you go, oh, like that, I'm going to take that bit. And
yeah,
then you go to the next one and you go, oh, quite like that, I'm going to take that bit. And it doesn't mean that everything's going to align with you. It's just about having that opportunity to explore what sits with you. I think that's what's so important. Now that I'm teaching, I encourage my students to go out there and like to explore and see what's going to fit with them, because I think that when they come back, they're going to not be carbon copies of whatever teacher they're
yeah.
with.
And that's
It's about them exploring where their strengths are,
yeah,
how different teaching ways. And because I work in the college as well, so my day job is student support. So I do a lot of kind of proofreading and like sitting with people, and when I'm working in that way, it kind of transcends into the teaching. So I've got that kind of dual
yeah.
career thing going on.
And I think if you're gonna teach her, that
Hmm.
it's like me with the Reiki. I had different teachers throughout
Hmm.
because I was kind of like, I like that. No, I didn't like this about that. And I wanted to bring something different to the table, then different teachers for Reiki too. And then, I think if you're a teacher, the teacher's in you, that you will want to move around different learnings. So things that Leanne are up to. So you're doing mediumship reading. Are they in house or Zoom calls or a bit of both?
And here in
Zoom,
my lovely space,
yeah.
I'm in a shed in the middle of Douglas. That's what I say to my clients when they come in and they're nervous. I mean, remember that you're sitting in a shed in the middle of Dundee, so
Yeah.
don't worry too much. This is going to be fine. So yeah, I do one-to-ones, and I prefer in person. And then because if they're sitting in front of me and they get upset and they need a cuddle, then I'm there. If they need me to stop for a while until they collect themselves, then that's not a problem. And I just think, it's great. I mean, working online, it works exactly the same. There's no difference. But for me personally, I love to see people. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I just love to see people. And I think there's been times when I've had people in, and then at the end I've given them a bit of healing. Like if they've been struggling, and then I've given them a wee bit of healing. I'm like that. Just you sit there. I'm like the worst person for time. Like see when you've got to schedule. Like I mean, some people are like half an hour blocks or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
so bad, but
Yeah.
I just like to make sure that there's time for people if they're upset, that they're not rushed out the door, that it's meant to be a healing process. So I do it here, I do it online. I have done it on the phone before, but I think, why do the phone when you could have a video link, so
Yeah. I
so
think human
yeah.
connection is really important when somebody's going through grief. It's nowhere to
Hmm.
go. It's just something that you have to process and you have to live with, and it's just trying to get them to understand the process, I suppose. Um, Public demonstrations, we've done that. I see that you do some charity work, which is always welcomed. It's nice to see
Hmm.
them doing charity events. Um, So pick a card. You have that on Facebook and you have that on your Instagram pages, which is learning and growth for us all. So that is that a daily thing or like is it just a random pick a card?
It's just when I feel called to do it. Usually it's about once a week or something. So I try, do you know what? This is me getting in my own head. I try not to do it at the same time other people are doing theirs. So
Okay.
like I've got a friend who does hers every Sunday, so I never do a Sunday. You know, I always make sure that I navigate away from the days that they're doing their cards. And I think it's just, you know, it's just a fun way for people to kind of connect and, you know, for that wee bit of guidance. And that's when my spirit guides come through, is when I do my pick a card, because when I'm writing, I don't know if you're the same, but when I'm writing, they take over and they say really fancy words that aren't mine. I go, oh, look at that. That's really good, isn't it?
Yeah. Or
And I'm like, I would never say that.
yeah, if I'm writing and a word will come in just in mid of it, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what that word means, and I'd have to Google
Hmm.
it, and I'm like, that's really cool how you're doing that
Yeah.
in this flow. But I love that because you're using all these different decks, and it's just giving people a different variety, spirit guide,
Hmm.
ancestors. It's really lovely to see. So your development circle group, is that a
Hmm.
weekly? Is it a monthly? Talk to us about what people do or what people can expect from your development circle.
So teaching, it's it's been for me, that has been when I've stepped into something that I know that I should be doing. You
Yeah,
know, the healing, yeah, it's great, but I think the teaching alongside my mediumship, it just makes sense. I mean, because I'm working education and then bringing that then into teaching people, and because I am such a sponge, you know, like I said to you about kind of going research on YouTube, I've watched pretty much every YouTube video there is known to man on mediumship that is out there. You know,
I'm
I've
in
read
that
all my books.
now. I'm in that only
Yeah.
speaking to David Hale. I'm like, oh my God, David, what have you unleashed in me?
Yeah, I mean, your podcast's on in the kitchen. Like I've got an Alexa, and I'm always listening to podcasts. So I'm always listening to something while I'm cooking, and then it's like all this kind of information coming in. And then so when I go to teach, there's always something that comes forward, you know, for my students, and trying to keep that with as much variety as I can. And I've got such a lovely bunch. You know, it's taken. I mean, I've been teaching for about 3 years. And I only started teaching because there was nobody else teaching at that point. It was like post COVID, and I was like, I really need something. So I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to start my own circle. And it wasn't because I thought I was ready, and certainly I wasn't demonstrating or anything by that point.
Yeah.
So when people were coming, I was like, disclaimer, I only teach like for a one-to-one setting at the moment because I'm not demonstrating, so I can't teach on that. So they come along and we do loads of different activities. Because it's in person, you're able to do like your tea leaf reading, you know, all these kinds of that in Costa Car, you know, like loads of different activities that you wouldn't be able to do that online. So that really gives me a lot of pleasure in seeing how well, you know, when I stand up there and teach, and a couple of my students now are really kind of at the point of moving on into their own development. One is in our own development, and I couldn't be more proud. You know,
Yeah.
that's like, wow, she's done so amazing, and I've really encouraged a part of her path,
Part of
you
her,
know, to go,
there's so much
yeah.
to take from that, isn't it? As a teacher, you're just like, oh my God, isn't that amazing? You know, and you want them to further develop. You want them to move. You don't want them just to
Hmm.
stay all the time. But I think when you have that environment of your development circle, it just encourages, like I always say, I'm facilitating. I'm not hosting, I'm not teaching,
Hmm.
I'm facilitating because I'm doing it for me too. So I'm involved in
Hmm.
exercises. So it's really cool. Sorry, did you say it was weekly or monthly?
Monthly,
Monthly. And where is
monthly,
that on?
yeah. So I just rent a dance studio.
Okay.
So we'll all go into the dance studio, and then it gives us a lot of space to kind of move around.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we've moved about, like we've been to different like places, and like we started off like in a hotel, the very first one, and we've kind of moved and moved and moved for various reasons. But like I'm really fortunate that some of the girls that started at the beginning are still there, and I only advertise every so often because I don't want it to be too many people, but at the same time I like to have a balance.
Yeah,
So I've got people that come every month, and then I've got people that'll maybe come when they're not on shift. So I've got nurses, and I like it to be as relaxed as possible for them. Yeah, it's lovely to be able to stand up and teach. And what I find now, like at the very beginning when I was teaching, I would do a lesson plan and I'd try to follow this lesson plan. But now Spirit come in and muck it all up, and
yeah,
then what I start off with, it ends up like nothing like the lesson plan that was supposed to be. It's very fluid, the teaching now.
yeah,
It's like I'll just write a few things down and hope for the best.
yeah,
Because most of the time we get through maybe one exercise and then they've changed it all again, and you're like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing, but hey ho,
yeah.
that's what we're doing now.
I'd wake up and I go, right, we'll do this exercise tonight, or we'll do such and such. And as soon as I sit down, I'm like, actually, we're going to do this today. And I'm like, that's just the way it works. But once I have a plan that's there, I'm
Yeah.
okay, I'll ride with it. We've come to the end of our chats. It flew in.
Oh, it
Flew
has.
an hour, absolute hour. So it's been an absolute delight chatting to you, Leanne, and connecting in with all that you do, for your time, for your energy. I'm absolutely in awe of anyone that steps forward, those demonstrations, those mediumship. I'm just like, I'm loving it. I'm just in it going, this is amazing. And to be surrounded by such amazing people, seriously, I think it's great. It's like you facing you, and you being your confidant, being everything that you can be. But thank
Mhm.
you for sharing your time and energy with us all.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I wonder if I'll still be saying that on Sunday before I go up to the demonstration. The nerves will have kicked in by then, but I'm sure I'll be fine. Spirit never let you down, do they?
That's it. And just even trusting that and knowing that they'll never let us down
Hmm.
is a
Hmm.
great ending to the podcast. Listen, thanks so much for your time, Leanne. It was lovely chatting to you. Take care.
You too. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye.